Hello, I'm Tom Shantz and this is Tiger Cole. We're here for another Spirit Side chat. Today is Thursday, Thanksgiving in the United States. And Tiger's joining me today because he's going to give us a heads up on the key word coming up for December. We're near to the end of the month now in November, and we thought we'd share around that theme a little bit. And we'll tie it into some of the things that are happening out in the environment and some of the things that are happening within ourselves. So welcome, Tiger. Great to see you again.
Thanks for having me back. It's starting to become a routine here, isn't it?
It's a pleasant routine, that's for sure. So we've been working with Believer, and we're moving into another keyword for December, which is satiated.
Yeah.
What would you like to share about what does satiated mean to you, Tiger?
Before I get into that, I'll just say that, we have, spiritually, there's a theme or an energy, a thema that runs through the planet every year. And that starts in September of every year. And through this program that we've worked with and working with our spiritual helpers, we've actually broken that whole year down to, just like they do, a year is broken down into 12 months, we've also broken down into 12 themes that are based on that annual theme. So November's theme was believer, or is believer. And we're moving into, as you said, Tom, we're moving into December, which is satiated. Right? And there's a Way Shore's philosophy that goes out every month about this, so you can tune into that for more details. But in short, what I wanted to share was the little transition, the little transformation between believer, November, and satiated, December. And while we don't think about it too much in our daily life, you just kind of go from one day to the next, and then the calendar flips over, right? Energetically, it's another opportunity to start fresh, right? It gives us a whole nother wave of energy to pick things up and move to your next level. So to me, satiated, or moving into satiated from believer, is pulling together or making sure I have everything that I have my inner beliefs clear, and starting to really bring that into everywhere. Let that penetrate and move through my toes and my head and my thoughts and feelings and the expression that I give and the work that I do, working in the garden and sharing with people, all of that. To me, that's what this transition is, and that's what I really tune into when it comes to satiated. It's all about really making it truly a way of life in everything I do.
Sounds good. So what's the difference between being satiated and feeling inundated?
Yeah, well, that's a that's a great one. I'm sure by now most of you, especially with this video being kind of timely, for the Americans particularly, they've got, not only do they have the COVID thing that's around the world, but then they've got the whole political thing, and there's challenges with people going back to work and all that kind of stuff. So that's, for me, that's where that inundation can come in, is if I'm not more clear about what my business is or what I've really come to do. And I know in our previous videos, it kind of almost seems like I overuse that word, like what I've come to do, my plan. And I don't really need to make it a big deal, but I think the bottom line is, am I investing in what I really need and want? Because there's no limit to what I can get involved in. It is no limit, and a fellow leader was just saying to me, it's like that we're living this 24-hour news cycle now. You can't not be inundated. And it wasn't that long ago, although I don't know how many people even remember it anymore, but it wasn't that long ago that if your TV was on, at midnight, all of a sudden the shows would stop, and you would get a color screen, and it would make this noise on the TV. You'd see this big color screen go up. It looks like bars of different colors, and then it would go boo, and there was nothing. There was nothing on until 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. the next day. But that's not true anymore. Now there is, every minute, there's information pumping through. Now if you've got a mobile device, oh my gosh, you're in it. So all of that can feel inundating to me and cover up the fun and the need and the joy and the work that I came to do, right? So to me, that's the distinction, is being inundated with something is really an exterior thing, and being satiated is something that's an internal thing.
Oh, well said.
I like to have you well said, that's,
well said.
I like that,
I was, looking through one of our manuals the other day for putting on workshops, and I read 3 or 4 real simple sentences, and that, the feeling part was about the balance of intellect and feeling, and how our feeling part just loves to be involved, and in fact, because we want to feel one with all, we'll get in, our feeling part leads us to getting involved with either a religion or an organization or a group. And it hit me that, it's just that simple. Those religions, those organizations, whether they be political or social or the groups that we get involved in, they serve me because they're just there for me to experience my feelings of belonging, being one with all things.
Right.
And when I start to feel inundated with what's going on in those groups, or overwhelmed by that, or disillusioned or disappointed, I realize that I'm starting to make that group or that affiliation an end in itself,
Right.
rather than just a means to an end. So
Right.
my intellect's, the intellect is just here to help me navigate through planet Earth and to work with the facts, with the physical. The feeling part looks to get involved. And the framework that we've got in society, is based on religion and also, science. So science is, a reflection of the intellect. It wants to know why things work, how they work, what works when we're here on planet Earth. But none of that do I really take with me, because the purpose of society even is for me to learn and grow, for me to experience my energy and experience myself. So when I feel satiated, I know I'm getting what I need to get out of life, and I know that I'm achieving, what I need to achieve for myself. If I start to feel inundated, or I start, making something else outside of myself more important, that's when the frustration and the fear and the oh my God, and what's going to happen if they win and if I win and don't win and all that sort of thing. But it's really, to me, was such a big aha, because I'm using a lot of words to say it was just a little simple readjustment of my thinking is, oh yeah, that's just here
Right.
for me to learn and grow, for me to feel one with all, for me to feel like I belong. And then, the other thing that helped me was I realized that it's easier to accept others who are involved with different groups, not necessarily the group that I'm involved with.
Right.
Because they're just involved in that. That soul is just involved in that for the same kind of a purpose, and they're exploring it, through that other avenue.
Yeah, I mean, to add to what you're saying, because obviously in the end of the day, we're just talking about the whole means to an end or an end in itself, right? Is what I'm doing, is it a means? Is it helping me to get to someplace? Or is that everything, right? That's what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is where all of a sudden, if I get too much into it, this is what you're bringing up about it becomes an end in itself. I start identifying with that thing rather than my personal identity, meaning that I am energy, I am a consciousness, I am a soul. I lose that identity, right? I cover that up and start thinking that I'm an identity of that group. I'm an identity of the science, right? Or the religion, right? Or the society. I identify there. And if I'm not careful, that will block or cover up what I've come to do. And so if I remember, it's all a means to an end. It's an important thing. It's an important thing. We're not going to downplay anything, right? I mean, this group, that religion, you know, the science and the structures of society, all of that is good, right? I'm not poo-pooing anything. But if I forget that it is a means to an end, that I'm here learning and growing through that my identity, who I am and who I'm evolving into, it's a part of that. If I lose that, then I'm going to get stuck and think, oh yeah, you're right, if I'm not with this group, then it's us against them. You know, I get into that baloney.
Yeah.
And when in reality, man, that you said it perfectly, Tom. Can I take that with me? It's so easy to figure it out. Am I going to take that with me when I go? When I go home, when you go home, are you taking that stuff with you? Right? If there's anything that gets you worked up, are you going to take that with you? Right? Is that freedom in the universe, the all, the cosmos, God, whatever you want to call it, is that going to help you be more free? And to me, that's the simple, just making it practical. Then I can know how much I'm going to dive in, right? Like, oh yeah, I can get in because that's my preference. Oh, I like the liberal or labor party, or, I like this group or that religion or whatever. Great, have a preference, learn, that's why you're there. But I need to also know, wait a minute, it's just help me get from point A to point B so I can get something out of it. So need a little bit of that loyalty to self and not get lost in some kind of identity out there.
Sounds good. Well, that is a pretty wrapped up topic.
Yeah, it's great. It certainly doesn't mean it can be all very fun, and to just kind of keep the energy light. Think about, I would say for my wrap up, think about how much more enjoyment I can get out of life. We can get out of life, right? Together, if we recognize and respect all things as important, but it all is a means to an end. Just let that be satiated inside yourself. If you just let it all be a means to an end, how much more fun and fulfillment are you going to have? How much more fun, how much more can we play the game of life but not be caught up in it? Right? That, to me, that's the power of what you're bringing up.
And what that says to me is I can go full on involved with it.
Right.
I can enjoy it. I can fight the good fight, but just enjoy the heck out of it while I'm doing it.
That's right.
And realize that it's just a means to an end. Stay detached. But just that little bit, for me, was just this little adjustment in my thinking, and which brings me to my guidance, in that, everybody's journey is unique, and I know my journey is a little different than your journey in terms of what I came to do spiritually. So the only one who can really, or the only group that can really help me refine these things is my personal team of guidance.
Right.
All I can do is share what's worked for me. You can share from your perspective. But if I find myself getting inundated or overwhelmed or disillusioned, and that's the visionary trip, because it's not living up to my picture of how I think it should be, or some fairy tale that I bought into when my first 7 years. It's my guidance that can give me those little solutions. And the thing that I've noticed, it's a step-by-step process. And it just takes a little bit of, I was almost going to say the other day to someone, inner discipline, but it's not so much inner discipline as that inner desire
Right.
to want to feel better, to want to be more clear.
Right.
And the beautiful part about working with my spiritual helpers is that, I could take pearls of wisdom from various gurus and various religions and various successful people and the psychologists, but what really is going to apply to my thrust to be happy and free and to really master what I came to master is going to be through my spiritual helpers. And I've got to put my 50% into it, because it's one thing for me to have that intellectual understanding of it. It's another to, change and feel that uplifting feeling of working with guidance. There's nothing like when spirit moves in, when my spiritual team moves in and gives me those, as an old friend of mine used to say, aha moments. And it's, like I've said before, spiritual truths are very simple. But it takes me to work with my guidance and have enough desire to do that on a consistent basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you, folks, for letting us share on our Thanksgiving. We're thankful that we have the opportunity to share, and I'd like to thank Teresa for directing this episode. Two guys and their spirit guides. Part of what we have to share is from us, and part comes from what we've been regrouping with our guidance. And our goal is to stimulate for you thoughts and feelings and ideas so that you can work with your guidance in a more clear way. The solutions are at hand. Thank you for letting us share.